This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Joining us live, Congressman Republican Scott Rigell from the 2nd District of Virginia. That's in the Virginia Beach area. Congressman, great to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, John. It's an important topic I think we're gonna cover today, so I appreciate the opportunity.
You know, we've been talking about this all week, the pending, I guess now, inevitable, inexorable march towards some kind of a military strike, the U.S. into Syria. I've got a couple of questions, Congressman. My first question is, I'm trying to figure out if indeed we do launch military action, some kind of a strike, missiles, tomahawks, whatever. What's the objective? What are we trying to accomplish here?
Well, the answer to that, John, I'm certainly happy to take a stab at it, but that falls first to the president. And look, you may be familiar with the effort that I'm leading here in the House. It's bipartisan. We have over 40 members who have signed on to a letter that I drafted, and we sent out just yesterday morning for my colleagues to sign on to. Over 40 members have signed on, really urging in the strongest possible terms the president to slow down and to follow the process that is clearly delineated in the Constitution, and that is that should he believe that the engagement of U.S. military forces is both warranted and imminent, he needs to come to call us into a joint session, put those facts before us, make the case, and make the strategic case, the one that you just asked me about, and then we can deliberate for a short period of time and give a definitive response to that in the form of either statutory authority to proceed or not. This is what I'm calling for. We've got a growing amount of support. I wish more were joining us, and I think even today we'll have more joining us because this is really the right way to proceed.
Well, Congressman Rigell, what you're asking for is simply following the Constitution of the United States, because the way that the layman looks at this is if we launch a military strike against the government of Syria, which is right now the recognized government of that country, and we do that with no national security interests at stake, we haven't been attacked, there's nothing imminent, then that translates into an act of war, of which this president has no authority to do without Congress. So I just don't understand why there's not a bigger mantra for this. And by the way, I appreciate what you've done because no one else stepped up with it. By the way.
Well, we're up here as somewhat of a lonely voice. I'm up here physically in Washington. We're doing everything we can to stop this. That is, stop it to the point of being able to deliberate it. Surprisingly, I was on Rachel Maddow's show last night, and we were very much in agreement on this. And look, where there's common ground, we've got to celebrate it. Let me read to you a very quick quote here from someone. Let's see if we can recognize who said this. No offensive expedition of importance can be undertaken until after they, that is Congress, shall have deliberated upon the subject and authorized such a measure. But that was shared by President George Washington, our first president, our first commander-in-chief. No offensive expedition of importance can be undertaken unless Congress has deliberated and authorized such a measure. And, you know, I look back at Operation Odyssey Dawn, what the president did very early on in my first term, which was to unleash a massive amount of ordnance into Libya without congressional approval. Over $1 billion was spent, 221 Tomahawk missiles, over 700 JDAM munitions, over 40 Hellfire missiles. Look, if that level of violence does not trigger what's in the 1973 War Powers Resolution, the term hostilities, John, what does? And this is not personal to the president. It is not a partisan attack here. This is I trust, a thoughtful and well thought out but unapologetic and bold call for him to adhere to the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, that's all it is. Even Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, the freshman, came out with a statement just yesterday. I put it up on my Facebook page, basically saying the same thing. Look, we're all outraged over what's going on, but this president has no authority to launch a military strike into a country. And the reason I believe he doesn't want to go in front of Congress is because he can't answer the questions that we've laid out. What's the objective? No one knows. What's the end game? No one knows. How do we get out? No one knows. If Assad falls, who's in charge? No one knows. Are they good guys or bad guys? No one knows that either. No one has the answers to these questions, Congressman. That's a problem.
Absolutely. And I think what's happening here is the president is struggling a bit. And look, I give full acknowledgement that it's a challenging situation. But I think that what's happening here is that he's put himself in somewhat of this bind and he's gotten himself to where he's going, well, I think I got to do something. And I take no pleasure trying to get into the mind of the president here, but I think that's pretty much what's happening. He's like, I got to do something. Look, punishment of the Assad regime, it's a heinous regime, and I'm convinced, I think the evidence is clear. Certainly the chemical weapons were used. I'm certain that's going to be the findings of the UN inspectors. They were in control of the chemical weapons. That's not in dispute. And so to the extent that they got out, whether they directly or others used them, they're responsible for it. But that just punishment isn't in and of itself a strategic objective. And I'm just really convinced, John, that, as the president is seeking his, I think, his moral authority to do this. He mentions the United Nations. He's talking about a coalition. Mm-hmm. Absent in all of that is what? The true moral foundation to apply military force and to engage U.S. forces comes from the people. It comes from hardworking Americans. Look, for the ships that are off the coast there and in the Mediterranean, look, they're home ported in Norfolk. These men and women and their families live in our communities. I owe it to them,
that's right,
and to really every citizen to make sure, doing everything I can to slow this process down.
Well, and just to follow the Constitution and to ask questions so that we get answers. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think what a lot of people are concerned about is average citizens are getting cut out of this process. Congressman, you've launched this bipartisan initiative. How many signatures do you think you're going to have to get on national news to put pressure on the president to involve both Congress and the people in this decision to get the U.S. involved in another Middle Eastern conflict?
John, I've been stunned, pleasantly so, by the attention that's being paid to this by the national news. I have never had a busier media day than I had yesterday, and today is the same.
Right.
Just full all day, where I'm going right from your show. I've already been on POTUS, the Sirius XM station, going right now to Fox News, be on CNN and MSNBC today, and there are others that are coming in, multiple newspaper requests for interviews. And I'm encouraged by that. We have over 40 signatures right now of many Democrats. I had a Democratic friend text me this morning. He said, Scott, thanks for your leadership on this. And I expect that we'll have maybe 75. I don't know. It's difficult to predict that. Part of the problem, John, is that we're not in session right now.
Right.
I mean, I'll walk through the halls today in the Cannon office building, Rayburn, Longworth. They're empty. There's just echoes around this place. Mm. We should be in session working on averting or replacing sequestration. We need to pass our appropriations bills. I just don't understand it. And look, both parties are responsible for this. The Senate controls the Senate calendar, the Dems rather, and of course Republicans control the House calendar. And both parties are, well, to put it bluntly, failing the American people at this point. We need to rework our schedules. We need to go to work every day like the American people. And look, if the president's if he's going to act on this, he needs to call us into session, give us 24 hours to come before the American people, C-SPAN running, make the best case he can without disclosing sources and methods of intelligence,
mm-hmm.
and maybe give us 12 hours to deliberate. We'll have a spirited debate on the House and Senate floor, and either stand with him in this or say, Mr. President, respectfully, but no. look, that is not diminishing the executive branch. And I want to make clear, John, if I woke up tomorrow morning and we were on this show and you're saying, Scott, do you realize that, the president responded to an attack or thwarted an attack that was imminent? I'd say, John, I thank the president for that. There are times when there is no time to consult with Congress.
But it's not. It's absolutely not now. Hey, Congressman,
right.
we're out of time. I'm up
I know, you gotta
against
run.
the clock. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for your great leadership on this issue. This is the John Fredericks Show.